Hey guys, hope you're all well and welcome to a follow-up episode of my top 5 Wonderkids under 5 mil. Now this is an episode that we're doing for 5 years later, so what we've done is we've simmed ahead 5 years in the game just to see how the players that I selected in the previous video have developed in that time. So you get like a good idea or a representation as to what they may become. It won't be a complete accurate representation, but it's just to give you that idea. Now the reason it won't be an accurate representation is, for instance, if you had arizo in your team who's currently on the screen right now, I'm sure you'd be able to develop him a lot better, say, than an AI manager, depending on who that AI manager happens to be. But yeah, it's just to give you guys an idea as to what they look like 5 years on. Sometimes they develop really well, sometimes they don't. It depends how the AI manages them. But yeah, let's dive right in and let's see, guys. So guys, we're going to follow the same order as the top 5 Wonderkids video that I did previously, and we're going to start off with Alejandro Itterbe. Now he's in the first team at Atletico Madrid, which is actually quite good, and this is an example of how he's been managed fairly well, actually. Sometimes he doesn't develop as well as this at all, but this is actually not too bad. All the attributes in the key areas such as aerial reach, command of his area, communication. His first touch is a little bit poor. His handling's very good. His kicking is actually pretty good. One-on-one's fantastic. His passing's decent. Reflexes are good. And what's great about it is his tendency to punch is actually really low, and his eccentricity, is very low as well. Some of his mentals are a little weak, but his determination is absolutely fantastic. His bravery is really good as well. I know that doesn't have a direct impact on how good of a goalkeeper he is, but obviously if he's got a higher bravery, he's likely to go in for the balls more, jump for them and and put his body on the line kind of thing, I guess. His positioning could do with a little bit of work, but yeah, his mentals are probably the weakest point. But actually, overall, his attributes are developed quite nicely here. His agility is very good. His jumping reach is also very good. And he's still only 21, and he doesn't seem to have any cons, which is absolutely fantastic, to be honest with you. So yeah, that is Alejandro Itterbe in this. Well, I say this save. I started this save unemployed. And then just simmed 5 years ahead. As you'll notice, I have the in-game editor on so that I can kind of force myself into the clubs that these players are in and see how they've developed. And this is how Itterbe has developed 5 years later in this particular instance. So yeah, I don't know if he's developed this well for you 5 years on. But again, this is a player you can pick up for under 5 million at the start of the season, as all of them will be going forward here in this video. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. So guys, this is Nnamdi Collins, the centre-back that we chose in the last video. Now he has developed quite nicely here. In fact, one thing before we dive into attributes, he has developed into a player that can play across the entire back line, which is absolutely fantastic. And I kind of think, really, looking at his attributes, he's probably more of a defensive fullback anyway, rather than a centre-back at this stage here. He's got the pace, he's got the tackling for it, he's got the passing as well, which is fantastic. So he could ping a ball up the line. Not very good at crossing, so he couldn't really play as a wing-back fully. He's going to be much more suited to a fullback. And he could kind of play in the backup centre-back role to one of your defenders, which is absolutely fantastic. I think he's got the heading ability, he can tackle. His marking could do with a little bit of improvement, and his jumping reach as well if he's to play at the centre-back. But other than that, he's pretty good. His bravery is really good. He's not likely to get red cards. His aggression's quite low. But then again, saying that, his composure is actually not too bad at all, to be fair. Decisions okay, positioning's absolutely fantastic. His pace, again, pace is superb, really. So no one's going to be beating him for pace through the middle, but I think if you were to play him as a fullback, I think that would be a much better option at this stage, looking at him. In my Sheffield United save, he's developed pretty similar, maybe slightly different, but yeah, I play him mostly at right back, but on the odd occasion I have played him at centre back, and he's done pretty well in both cases. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely highly recommend that this guy, 100%, he's developed quite nicely here. And at Leipzig, he is the third best player in the club in theory. So yeah, he's developed quite nicely. So let me know what you guys think, and let's move on to the next player. So guys, we move on to Gavi at Barcelona. Now he is still at the Barcelona B squad, and he has spent his entire time at Barcelona. He's not been on loan, I've checked already. And considering that, he's actually developed really well. So considering he's been stuck at Barcelona this entire time, I think he's developed really well. I have seen him develop a little bit better than this. Granted, it was like a year on at the age of 22. And I know a lot can happen in a year. But yeah, he's developed really well. Considering he's been stuck at Barcelona, he's developed really well. His dribbling is fantastic. His first touch, his long shots are decent. His passing is fantastic. His technique is fantastic. I mean, if you were to put those attributes just up by one, all of a sudden he's a much better player just looking at him. But yeah, I mean, really, he is a very, very good player. He's developed nicely, as you can see by the attributes here. And at 300,000, I think this player needs to be bought by everybody and anyone that can physically buy him, to be honest, because even if he doesn't develop that well, you're still going to make money and profit on him anyway. And yeah, that's Gavi, 100% looking really, really good for me. Worth the buy. But let's move on to the next player, guys. So, guys, now we move on to Jamie Bino Gittins. This is an example of maybe a player that hasn't quite fully developed to his potential. I think that, you know, he's been stuck at Borussia Dortmund, much like Gavi, but Gavi's kind of developed much, much better. I feel like maybe they've used him a lot better in the first team than potentially Gittins has here. He's probably not even featured at all in the first team, Gittins. In fact, we'll have a quick peek here. Oh, he has a few. Yeah, he's developed a few. Not many games, but he's had a few games. Like, he's a decent inside forward. Like, he has developed the attributes for an inside forward quite nicely. He hasn't developed any. I mean, his mentals are really quite weak. I feel like this is an example of a poor development. He's not bad. You know, he isn't bad. He's now valued at 8 mil. You can get him for something like 1 mil, 1.2 mil, something like that. I can't really remember exactly. You'll have to check the last video out for that. But you know, so there is potential here to move on to you know, getting a profit if it hasn't worked out. I think he's okay. I think he could have developed a lot better. His cons, tendency to not get stuck into rough challenges, so that's not great really. His consistency is pretty poor. He's injury prone now, which I'm pretty sure he wasn't before, so he's obviously had a bad injury in this one. So that's not necessarily going to happen for you. He could develop a lot better for you. And of course, he may not get this injury proneness either because, you know, he might not suffer that nasty injury. Fairly selfish player, which I'm pretty sure hasn't changed. And he tends to be a peripheral figure in the squad. Okay, so yeah, he's I mean, he's still in the Dortmund 2 squad, so he's only featured a few times in the first team. 17, I think, was the most appearances he's made. But yeah, this is an example of how he's not developed to the full potential, I think. I mean, that star is like 3, borderline 4, and he's stuck on 3 here. 21. I know he's still young, but I mean, at this age now, really, he should be a little bit better than this, I feel. So this is an example of how he may not have developed how you would develop him. But he can develop much better than this. I've seen it. I've seen his finishing be 16 at this age, I think, or 15 or 16. I can't exactly remember. So yeah, he's not developed that well. That's on this one. But let's move on to the next one, guys. So, guys, last but not least, we move on to Arizo. Now, he's at Burnley here, and I'm really curious as to how much they actually paid for him. 925k. What an absolute bargain. And as you can see, he has developed absolutely superbly, I'd say. I mean, yeah, okay, he's not, you know, Haaland, but he's definitely quality. And I think his finishing's 15. Look at that, his dribbling's 15, his finishing's 15, his first touch is 15. I think he's developed maybe slightly better. I'm pretty sure he's faster in this than he is in my Sheffield United one, although I am a year behind. The attributes do look very similar, I'd say, to my Sheffield United save that I'm doing currently. But yeah, I'd say he's developed maybe a tiny bit, maybe physical might be a little bit better here than in that one. But he's still roughly the same, yeah. And he's developed some really, really nice attributes here. His composure is decent, his finishing is decent, he's fast, his natural fitness is fantastic. So yeah, I'd say he's developed quite nicely. He's 22, and for 900k, he's a steal. And he's now worth 29.5 million, and you can get him for under 5 mil. I think it's, well, I mean, Burnley have just got him for 925,000, but I don't think you can quite get him for that at the start of the season. But you can definitely get him for under 5 mil, and if you can develop him similar to this, slightly better maybe, then yeah, you're going to be on for some big profit if you wanted to sell. But yeah, he's looking really, really good, and I'm quite happy with how he's developed here at Burnley, to be honest. I mean, how many games has he actually played for? Let's go back into here and have a quick look. So yeah, he's played 28 games in one season, only scored 11 though. But he's played a hell of a lot of games for Burnley, to be honest. So yeah, he's done all right, and he's done much better in his last few seasons. So he looks like a player that's kind of settled into the Premier League. He has some cons, so he doesn't enjoy big matches, which is a shame. I'm not sure he has that in my one. I don't remember him actually having that in my Sheffield United one, but we can have a quick peek, I suppose. Can only play in one position, which is not really a con if you're a striker, I guess. I mean, it's nothing wrong with that. has a competitive streak, which can occasionally lead to him bending the rules. Yeah, and then it's just an eligibility thing at the end. But most of his pros, he's got a lot of pros compared to cons, and I think he is 100% worth the money, worth the buy, and I think he's developed quite nicely here, to be honest. But yeah, we'll have a quick look at him in my Sheffield United save, and we'll just do a quick sort of comparison as to how he looks in that to this. So let's go and have a look. So guys, my Sheffield United save is on the left, and the arizo from the Burnley save is on the right here. Now, as you can see, his dribbling, finishing, first touch are the same. Corners crossing are the same. In fact, he's pretty much similar overall. His penalty taking is a little bit better in the Burnley save. This is a year later as well. His mentals are quite similar as well. They look pretty much the same, yeah, give or take. His composure is a little bit better in the Burnley one. So yeah, so bearing in mind as well that my one on the left, he is 4 years in, and the one on the right is 5 years in. He seems to have more pros on my one than he does on the Burnley one, and the only cons that are the same are his eligibility, and I think it's the ability to only play into one position. He's a little bit faster, a little bit more acceleration on the Burnley save. His agility is pretty much the same. His balance is not quite as good in the Burnley one to the Sheffield United save. Jumping reach is a little worse as well. His natural fitness is much the same, yep. And his stamina is much better in the Burnley save than it is in my current Sheffield United save. So yeah, that's a quick comparison. As you can see, they're quite similar how they've developed, and I think this player is 100% worth buying. And as we saw in the Burnley save, I'm not quite sure in the Sheffield because obviously I've cut this out and sort of stuck them side by side. But I think that he's worth about 29-30 mil something in the Burnley save, so you've got massive profit there if you don't want to keep hold of him. But yeah, worth buying arizo for me, and that's a side-by-side comparison, guys. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope it gave you a good insight as to how these players could develop in that 5-year period. Obviously, as I said before, it's just a rough guide. Under your management, they could develop a lot better, or a lot differently anyway. But yeah, I do plan to do a few more of these top 5 kind of videos, top 5 Wonderkids in maybe per country or per league. I'm not sure yet. So for example, like maybe I can sort of do top 5 Wonderkids in the Bundesliga, in the Premier League, or by country like Italy, Brazil, so on and so forth. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I will do a lot more of these down the line. And I know there's a lot of guides out there on YouTube and what have you like that, but I want to kind of do my own, I guess. But yeah, like I said, if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button, click the bell so you know when I'm posting videos, and give the video a like. It will mean so much to me. And if you want to see me play my Sheffield United save or my current network save with Dan on Twitch, then all the details are below in the description. But that's about it for this video, guys. Stay safe, take care, and I will catch you soon.